Good evening. Well, I am back at it to try it one more time. I have gotten a couple of things changed with my setup. In case you can't tell with the head moving around, we are trying open track again, but I've spent a little time going into the mappings for that, adjusted some different things with the camera, and see if we can get that. One of the other things that I did was I've moved my zoom control onto my HOTUS instead of on the mouse. So hopefully that will help with one of the frustrations of changing the scroll wheel all the time and zooming out and missing. So tonight, gonna do some nice VFR flying. Looks like might end up doing some scud running underneath some of this. We'll see. See what the weather has in store for us. Beautiful thing about a simulator, though, we can just go for it. Do not recommend in real life, but in the sim, what could go wrong? All right. Well, it looks like one of the beautiful things about this model, this is the WB Sim upgrade for the Cessna 152. Makes it a little bit more interesting to handle, bounces around a little bit more. This is the aircraft that I trained in, and tiny. It is tiny. It is little. You definitely feel it. A lot of fun. The 152 version was actually aerobatic. These have also been converted over into tail draggers. They call the Texas tail dragger kit, which I think would be a lot of fun. Anyway, since we already seem to be sitting inside, go ahead and hop in. Get our view figured out here. All right. I do have say intentions on. We'll see how much we use that. It's been not as useful on. Where is our? There it is. Not as useful on VFR flights. It seems like it gets a little confused sometimes, but we'll see. Do have it on, so we'll play with it. See how it works. And with that being said, I should probably take it off. There we go. Go ahead and get our mixture in. Full rich. Fuel is on. Check right. Check left. Clear prop. Are live. We have oil pressure. Fuel quantity verifies what's been put in. Let it warm up a little bit here. Oh, well, that's happening. We can 118.8. We can check the weather here. Right. So let's see here. One, 2.9. Actually going on the ground. So view at 7, working at 10. 2962 is a little bit lower. 240 at 5. So runway 24 is definitely going to be how we're going to get out of here. Valdez traffic, Cessna November 6214 Kilo is taxiing to runway 24 for departure to the south, Valdez. All right. Throw on our heats here. Beautiful. We're going to be going just dead reckoning at VFR flying, so after we get out of here, our heading on course is this guy here. Heading down to this 1, 2, and then the third fjord up in there. And we're going to be roughly a heading of 181. go right through them, but ruin the immersion. Just bebop right around in there. We'll go ahead and try to get out of here before he is coming in. Valdez Pioneer traffic, Cessna 6214 Kilo, taking off runway 24, departure to the south at or below 2,500 Valdez. Quick run up right here on the runway. Drop. Back. Drop. Back. In. And we are going. 60 knots. Get the default speed zoomed out so it doesn't do that. We can pitch for a better speed here. Good climb. Basically head right straight out this gap here, and then we'll turn south and stay over the bay. Valdez traffic, Cessna 6214 Kilo, departing straight out. Currently 1,700, climbing 2,500, staying to the north of the valley, Valdez. pitching down so that I can look over the nose for traffic, and it shouldn't be doing that. Eye out for him. Yeah, much nicer weather than I thought it was going to be coming out of here. Looked a little more ominous on the ground, but this is very beautiful. It's a great little add-on. This, the flight model on this Cessna is a little bit better than the stock version of the 152. I like the beat-up instrument panel, the wear and tears. Accurate. If you've ever flown one of these from the 70s or 80s, they were used as trainers, and most of them look like it. I've seen some sharp ones, so some people that have done some restoration jobs, and they're adorable. A buddy of mine used to have a little 152, and the thing was a lot of fun. We used to go up and play with it a lot. Does not seem to be very easy to get fine-tuned. It's one of the first things I think I'm going to build for my cockpit is a nice trim wheel that is Alright, so then we want the third valley on the left for our arrival. I can't even remember the name of the airport. Papa Alpha, Kilo Alpha. Looks like there's somebody. nice smooth air, so I'm fine with bumping it into the yellow. Keep the speed up. Or just let it go. It's not purposeful. Just spending too much time looking around. In a small aircraft like this, trim really is so important. All right, pop up what is the name of? Titlick. Two 2.7. Bumpy. This is our second, so we should be right around this corner here. Runway 13 is going to be a straight in, so Titlick traffic, Cessna November 6214 Kilo is 5 miles northeast inbound to land, runway 13 to Titlick. I believe that's it right there. Traffic pattern altitude, just nose over. We can keep the speed up a little bit. Pretty calm air. That's 109 there. So we'll be just around the corner past that. bit. Reaching our altitude. Hopefully it's just up around this corner. I've never actually flown in here before, so we're just going by the charts. That is definitely it. The other one was Titley traffic, Cessna 6214 kilos overflying. We're going to enter a right downwind runway 13 to Titley. An interesting looking shoreline over there. Nice and jagged. Like a sine wave. Titley traffic, Cessna 6214 kilos on a right downwind, runway 17 to Titley. I have a feeling that the data we've got is incorrect. That is not on a heading of 130. That's all right. In 45, head straight toward the shoreline, starting descent. To Titley traffic, Cessna 6214 kilos on a right base, runway 17 to Titley. Second notch flaps, 70 knots. Cube are coming down. 1500 RPM roughly. Once we get over the shoreline. heading 250 is what we want. That's why our magnetic compass and our heading indicator are not lining up. So we're going to go ahead. We're on 250 now. We caught that before we took off. How you get lost. And now we're just going to cruise across the bay until we get into Whittier, the AWR. Those types of moments is one of the reasons I adjusted my zoom control. I'm trying to do this no autopilot, flying left-handed while I scroll this in. And when it bounces around, if you have the zoom set on that, when you have the zoom set on that, it becomes even more frustrating. Center, Cessna, November 6214 Kilo, level 2500, request flight following, VFR to Whittier. Squawk 3441 and ident Cessna 6214 kilo. Altimeter 2950, Cessna 6214 kilo. Barometric pressure. Back up a little bit. Back on our heading of 250. Well, so far, this has worked a lot better. Using the VFR flying, calmed it down a little bit. There's still some jumps and shakes. It's still a little bit tricky to have to reach into all of it, but it's definitely working better. I still, though, even with that, much prefer the multiple monitors. Setting up an actual cockpit display. I'm thinking 3 monitors is probably going to be, because I do a lot of GA flying, so the 2 side windows and the front window in a single flat instead of split out for a large jet. Zoom is definitely working better, and speeding that up made a big difference too. It took it from 10% to 25% on the zoom speed. That's made that a little bit easier to use. Looks like we're going to cross a couple peninsulas. Always on that day, that land is right out there. constantly bringing the aircraft back to a place of stability. The weather. This is not a set it and forget it. This is constant input of little commands. Keep everything flying straight. Even setting the trim. Little bumps of wind. That's one thing like that this compared to the stock aircraft. It definitely responds a lot more to subtle weather changes. Little bits of wind bumping you around. I haven't heard any chatter over center. It's interesting. It's more at Valdez, just with some of that sounded like other players too, which I'm not sure exactly how that works, if it encompasses everybody that's all in one server, if it's different instances. Oh. Keep it right on the edge of that yellow arc if it's bumping around. Don't get any structural damage. You're safe to fly into the yellow. In smooth air and choppy air, you want to avoid it because you can quickly get wind movements that are beyond what the structural integrity of your aircraft will allow for. I've got a nav one. I've got dual nav in this, both with the glide slope. So looks like there's definitely some clouds in the valley, but maybe we'll do a test IFR approach to the valley over into Anchorage that we'd have to do by hand. We'll land and take a look at the charts and see if that makes sense. Maybe we can go back into Valdez. I can always adjust it, but we'll check the weather and see. We cannot fly into known ice with this aircraft. It's certainly bad news. So we're going to have to avoid the ice. We'll take a VFR, but if we need to shoot the approach, we can. Trying to see the clouds sit lower on the other side. Ridge there. See if Whittier has an Venus. Nope. Just operates on C-tab. runway 4 to the north, so we could a little bit to the north and then enter right traffic for that, if that works. Saying runway 22, but don't know what the weather is there. Let's see. Center Cessna 14 kilo. Do you have the current winds at Whittier? Ice flows down in the bay there. That's kind of neat looking. I hadn't noticed that before. A little bit of breakup. Temp still looks good, oil pressure looks good, fuel quantities are fine. Fuels look good. Bump over the mountain here, get a little more direct. Going out and around that bump. dump drive. Right up that little bay, and it'll be on the left-hand side up there in the bottom. Read a book many years ago. It was written by a guy named Ernest Gann, who was one of the early pilots, 1930s, in World War II. And he wrote a book called Fate is the Hunter. Really good book. Heard a lot about aviation. There's a lot of movies based on a lot of his writing, but he was describing a story about the Greenland expeditions, and he was flying a DC-3 up out of Newfoundland and up into the Arctic, crossed over to Greenland. Some of the radio stations that were up there were at the end of these fjords. Navigation systems were so rudimentary at that point that a lot of it was visual, so you would be flying down with very, very little reference, just counting fjords and then figure out which one to turn into. And you would have these low-lying cloud layers, so he's talking about taking these things up on the water at 200 and 300 feet, sometimes down to 50 feet over the water, just so that he could see, and not being quite certain that they had flown up into the correct valley, and hoping that they didn't have to do a 180 degree. Wonder what he'd have done with a moving map. He'd have probably liked a moving map. I would have. Just incredible stories, not knowing whether they were going into box canyons that they just wouldn't have the space to be able to turn around and come back out without flying to the side of the mountain. But once they had ventured up into the fjords far enough, where they were at a certain point, they had flown for hours just to get there, and the fuel that they had on board, a lot of times they they needed to refuel before coming back, so they didn't even they were past the point of no return, so a lot of times it was the only option. Pretty incredible to think about what some of these guys did before the modern age of aviation and all the safety features that are built in now. .6, Cessna 6214 kilo. 118.6. We'll go ahead and leave this in the box. Anchorage Center, Cessna 6214 kilo, 2,100. Center 53. Should be up just on the left of this bay, runway 4. We should be setting up to enter a nice left downwind for runway 4. There is traffic coming out of there. We heard him, so keep an eye out for anything coming up out of the valley there. Anchorage approach, Cessna 6214 kilo is landing Whittier. Request to cancel flight following. Whittier traffic, Cessna 6214 kilo is 8 miles east of Whittier, 2,200 inbound, going to enter left traffic for runway 4, Whittier. Go ahead and start coming down a little bit, no reason to pull the speed out. Still fairly docile air. Yeah, I thought a video series recreating a lot of Ernest Gadd's flights would be interesting. There's multiple experiences that he had throughout the Arctic and flying in South America. Went from airmail all the way to the jet age, and really interesting stuff if you're into aviation. Highly recommend it. A lot of it's hard to find anymore. A lot of it was written in the 1950s, about the 1940s and 30s. Right up in that bowl up there. Looks like, is that a building up there? Notice down the traffic pattern altitude. Whittier traffic, Cessna 14 Kilo is 2 miles to the east, entering a left downwind runway for Whittier. That's a one-way in, one-way out. Whittier traffic, Cessna 6214 Kilo is going to make straight in runway 22 on 2 mile final, Cessna 6214 Kilo. All right, let's cut the power out, get our speed back. Do a little bit of slipping here. Go. Flaps in. Second notch. $65 on descent. Nice crosswind. The wing dropped. Christie? Oh, look. Even got me a little parking space set in that nice up. Stop. We'll stop right here so that we can still get out. All right, we'll throw on the parking brake. Let's pull up our flight planning, see what Anchorage has to offer. PAWR. And take off runway 4. Runway 7. Oops. Yeah, give me just 1 second. Gotta run and grab something. I will be right back. Alright, what does the weather look like for Anchorage? Overcast. At 5. We should be able to stay below that. We can just run up the valley and stay below it. I don't think we need to go up IFR. If we do, let's see what we can do for a little bit of let's see here. We come right through this and then follow right up the valley. To Peng. If we set approach and we'll get somewhere in here and then we'll request the ILS approach. VFR. So basically we're going to cross this little right in front of us, get over the water and follow the river on out. Follow that right straight on down until we get into Anchorage's control over here, which we'll need to do before we get out. Go ahead and touch base with them and ask for a practice ILS. Unless they want to send us all the way out, then we can just take the visual. Whittier traffic, Cessna November 6214 Kilo is taxiing to runway 4 for departure to the west. Whittier. Let's go up. Make our turns out at the end over the bay. Then fly back directly over the runway. So you got a strong crosswind coming from the left. Whittier traffic, Cessna 6214 Kilo is overflying east to west Whittier. Anchorage approach, Cessna November 6214 Kilo at 1,500 feet off of Whittier. Climbing 2,500, landing Anchorage, requesting flight following. Walk 3441, I get 614 Kilo. this cut through is anchorage on the right-hand side. We'll see how they bring us into the class Bravo here. I like doing the IFR and programming the flight routes, but this is a lot of fun too. You get a lot more workout trying to finesse and maintain your altitudes, your headings, flying VFR. That not on top of it constantly gets away from you and ends up doing something stupid. Definitely has seemed a little bit smoother. Getting better at LODs further out. I also switched for this particular flight, the auto FPS. I switched over to VFR flight. Didn't change any of the other settings, just changed it from IFR to VFR. And I know the target rating was going after was 40 frames a second. Now this is a fairly light aircraft too. It doesn't have isn't really taxing on the sim. Even before using auto FPS, it's very, very basic. Probably going to give us runway 1 or 7 right. That's what it popped up with the default, so we'll assume that for right now. And one departure, one approach. 111.3. Final approach course of 074. Don't know. Not having have a DME. at 5,000 overcast. That should be up high enough. We'll stay well clear of that. 133.7, Cessna 614 kilo. Anchorage Center, Cessna 6214 kilo, 2,700 feet. Skull of Ernest Yan stuff. Who holds those now? Be interesting to do the flights and flight simulator kind of narrated as the audiobook over the top. The stuff those guys dealt with is pretty incredible. Looks like we're picking up the beacon. Anchorage Center, Cessna, November 6214 kilo. We'd like the ILS 7 right approach for practice if possible. We'll expect the ILS 7 right approach into Anchorage, Cessna 6214 kilo. Play with say intentions a little bit and see what it does for us, if it's going to try to send us out to the full procedure, or if it'll give us vectors to help cut some of it off. We'll see. If we do end up doing the full procedure, our Elias would be our first fix, but we don't have DME, so without DME, without a GPS, we really can't do this legitimately. Anchorage Center, Cessna 6214 Kilo, request clearance to enter the Anchorage class Bravo. Cleared into the Bravo. Will advise when entering 6214 Kilo. What frequency was that for Cessna 6214 Kilo? .1 for Cessna 6214 Kilo. Thank you. Good day. Anchorage approach, Cessna says 6214 Kilo, 2,500. Picking up a little bit of ice. Not too bad, but definitely picking it up. I'll have to keep an eye on that. Anchorage approach, Cessna, November 6214 kilo. We're picking up a little bit of ice. We'd like priority landing if possible. Cessna 6214 kilo would like the visual if possible. Visual approach for runway 7 right is what we'll expect. Entering the class Bravo now, Cessna 6214 kilo. Our ice is cleared up a little bit. See anything on the wing, at least on the underside. There's an anchorage in front of us. Left heading 260, 6214 kilo. Anchorage approach, Cessna, November 6214 Kilo. We'd like to practice a contact approach if you've got the time. Call missed approach, Cessna 6214 Kilo, heading 260, 2,100 feet. Let's see what they do with that. So the contact approach is supposed to be direct bearings and altitudes given directly from air traffic control, something that we would do if you had lost navigation, instruments, flying blind. Anchorage approach, Cessna 6214 Kilo, request vectors to final. Heading 265, Cessna 6214 Kilo. So they are going to shoot me all the way out for this ILS. Yes. Well. Anchorage approach, Cessna November 6214 Kilo, declaring minimum fuel. Anchorage approach, 6214 Kilo, requesting direct Thule. Alright, well, I guess they're going to fly us out here for the whole thing. Got enough gas. Burned a little bit more than I was anticipating. Anchorage approach, Cessna 6214 Kilo. We'd like to turn inbound. Turn heading 045, vectors for the visual. Cessna 6214 Kilo. Vectors for the approach. Left heading 265, Cessna 614 Kilo. Why? Anchorage approach, Cessna 6214 Kilo, unable, declaring a fuel emergency. Fuel on board is 0. Engine is cut. We are gliding 1 soul on board. Unable, we are putting down on the island here. We are gliding heading 360. Oh, this is interesting. Should have put more fuel in the tank, I guess. All right, hold it right at 60, maximum glide. Trim it out for it. I know it's our fuel, but we'll... Our starter's not going. We have an aux pump, no aux pump in this. All right, we'll see what we can do. Don't know if we're gonna make it or not. Clean configuration. Don't think so. I think we are gonna be in the drink off the shore here. Cessna 6214 Kilo is down in the water, no injuries.
Cessna 14 Kilo, stay right there. Emergency vehicles are on their way.
Oh, look at this.
Cessna 14 Kilo, roger, down in the water. No injuries reported. Emergency services notified.
That's funny. All right, well, that's one way to end that. And come on back next week for more harrowing adventures with trucks that can float, aircraft that can't. Oh, Lord. That's funny. I think that should be the, definitely should be. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that. We will, we'll do it again and hopefully make it all the way. Should have called out sooner that we were out of fuel. I was trying to follow the directions. If we had turned inbound and kept our visual, I think we'd have been okay, but lack of proper planning has led to things. But if you enjoyed that and you just want to mock it, please leave a comment down below. We'll do it again some other time. Thank you and have a good evening.